Hey, what's going on, everybody? I hope you guys are having a good day. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and the Black Business School, and I'm going to give you guys a chance to come into the live stream as we hit our topic for today. It's going to be a really good topic. We're going to have a lot of interesting things to talk about, and I'm just trying to get set up and get us ready. Now, as we begin, I want to let you guys know who I'm talking with. I'm speaking with Nomalanga Mushali Moses from Healthy Black Woman and FlyNubianQueenTV.com, and I'm going to ask my friend Noma, how are you today?
I'm doing great, boys. How are you?
I'm doing really well, really well. Now I'm not as frazzled. I got all my stuff together now. All right, so we were gonna actually jump in and talk a little bit about some stuff that we saw today regarding Bill Cosby. I think that Bill Cosby is a person that's I personally think it's important to keep talking about Cosby because sometimes when people go away to prison, we act like they're dead. We just forget about them and no one remembers anything about them and their memory. And I'm sorry, even though I don't justify everything Cosby's accused of, I also cannot agree with the way he was sentenced and the nature of the conviction because there was no evidence. You have to have evidence to send somebody away.
I don't agree with any of it.
Really? Okay. So tell me, what is your take on Cosby? And you guys who are watching, please give me your opinions on Cosby as well. Let us know what you think about Cosby. Because we're still trying to figure this out. But what are your thoughts on it, Nomalanga?
Well, I'm not a lawyer or anything, but I do know there's a thing called setting a precedent. And with Bill Cosby, they've set so many precedents that are just going to be brutal for Black men. Because as you've seen that the Bill Cosby scenario where, a girl's trying to get famous and there's a man who's famous and she tries to get in his good graces by sleeping with him or being around him or whatever it is, hoping to, get to fame. That story is common in Hollywood, but most of the time, the person who's the famous man is a white man. And we've seen those stories over and over and over and over again. But none of those people have been prosecuted or treated like Bill Cosby. So we already know that when they set this precedent that you don't even need evidence to be accused of rape and molestation and taking advantage of women or whatever it is, and then be sent to prison. What is it? Some of it is like 30 years after the fact. Let's see, 1970 to, some of these cases are from 1970. Please correct me if I'm wrong, right? 30, 40 years later. If you can do that to somebody, they're not going to do it to the white males in Hollywood. They're going to reserve those precedents for Black men, as we can see.
Yeah.
So that's very, very troubling.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the thing is that Cosby's not the only one that this has kind of happened to. There's, the case of Albert Wilson, which I keep mentioning Albert Wilson's name as much as possible because nobody talks about, the suffering of Black men. Nobody cares. Nobody brings it up. Well, I'm going to bring it up, and I care, and I'm calling out and I'm begging anybody else who does care, to realize, that because our numbers are so small, we have to scream 10 times louder than everyone else. We have to multiply our numbers by 10 by being that much louder, that much more assertive about making sure that our voices are heard. And so, and I think it's important because, I'll give you another example. In Chicago, 45%, almost half of all the Black men, the young Black men, don't have jobs, and they're not in school at all, right? And we got this new Black mayor, she's a part of the LGBT community. And I bet you anything that she'll spend more time talking about, where somebody can use the bathroom, based on gender, than she'll spend talking about the fact that half of the Black men, half of the men that look like her, half the men that are in her own family can't find jobs, can't feed their children. And if half the white people in Chicago were going through something like that, she'd be all over it. That would be mission number one, top priority. So it kind of just speaks to the fact that, nobody's really talking about what's going on with these Black men. And we have to sit and listen all day about how a white woman was traumatized because someone touched her boob, allegedly. There's no proof, right? Like, again, that's what the Cosby thing was all about, him touching her boobs. Now, again, I'm not a fan of touching anybody's boobs without permission, but I'm not really sure if a prison sentence is equivalent to somebody touching your genitalia or whatever. I'm not belittling it. Right. I'm just saying you touch.
I understand what you're saying. The crime, the punishment must fit the crime.
Right. Exactly. Right. And I can tell you, I've been touched when I didn't want to be touched. And if you went to me and said, if you came to me and said, we're going to give this person, 10 years in prison because she touched you, I would say, no, that's too much. Maybe fine her, or maybe a night in jail, teach her a lesson, right? But I wouldn't say, oh yeah, take her away from her family, send her away to prison to traumatize her. We know people get beat up in prison, they get raped in prison, and I want her to be raped as much as possible in prison because she had no business touching my genitals, right? And it sounds crazy when I say it as a man, right? But everyone thinks it makes sense when a white woman says it, right? And that really speaks to how white women are looked at as being here, and black men are looked at as being down here, right? So okay, so let's by the way, everybody, if you're not here, if you just came in, I'm talking to Norma Langan, Michelle Moses. We're talking about Bill Cosby, and actually there's a specific story we're going to get to in which Camille is actually speaking up very vocally about this case, and I thought it was important to talk about this. Everybody, please hit the thumbs up button, share button, subscribe button. Also a reminder, I'm going to be in Philadelphia May 19th. So if you live in Philadelphia, you can go to drboycephiladelphia.com to learn more. That's drboycephiladelphia.com. And also, Norma Langan has a great charity for young women in Botswana that she works on to get sanitary napkins for young girls so they can go to school. It is called padsforourgirls.com. That's the URL, padsforourgirls.com. So feel free to support that if that's an issue that matters to you, which it should. It matters to me, and I do support. Okay, so let me go in here and read this article. This is in USA Today, and basically they said that Camille Cosby came out and slammed the judge in the Cosby case. She says that, basically she released a statement rebuking Judge Stephen O'Neill. Judge Stephen O'Neill, she rebuked him in the ongoing battle to appeal Cosby's criminal conviction. O'Neill, who presided over Cosby's 2 sexual assault trials, wrote in a lengthy brief filed Tuesday that he let 5 other accusers testify at the 2018 trial because their accounts had quote unquote chilling similarities that pointed to a quote unquote signature crime. So it sounds like his explanation for why he allowed other witnesses to come in, people that were accusing him of things that happened long ago, to come into this particular case is because he said that this represented a pattern in Cosby's behavior. Cosby began serving 3 to 10 years in prison in September at a state prison near Philadelphia. The Cosbys stood together in their denunciation of the judge. Camille said in the statement, I'll read what Camille said, then I'd like to get your take, Norma Langan. Camille said in the statement sent to USA Today by Cosby spokesperson Andrew Wyatt that the judge, quote, tried to turn Bill Cosby into one of the most insidious stereotypes of African-American men. Quote, now after more than 50 years of work that humanized the dehumanized, which also challenged the perpetual architects of racist, exploitative, and greedy maneuvers that have enabled them to divide and conquer, my husband has been severely redefined by Judge O'Neill, despite having zero proof. Norma Langan, your take on this?
You know what? How a signature story or a pattern emerges when people have been coached on what to say when they get into the interrogation room or whatever it is. We've been following, actually, you and I, before Bill Cosby even went to trial. I remember we did a number of segments about the story. And I remember even back then, there was no evidence, and we were saying there was no evidence. There's still no evidence now, and he still got convicted. And then what started to happen was, of all the women, because I think they also did a whole special on him, didn't they? They did a whole special on him. And then some of the women who were in the special after the fact came out and said, oh, actually, what I said actually wasn't true at the time. And I can't remember what their reasons were for saying things that were going to send a man to prison. And then he got convicted anyway. So I'm with Camille because, yes, the fact that the stories sound the same doesn't prove what the judge says it proves. It proves what I think was happening to Bill Cosby, is that they had determined that he was going to go to prison. They rounded together people who would say what they needed to say, and then they got him convicted and sent to prison. And I also believe that, yes, they did paint a different picture of him. Look, even back then, I said it before they convicted him, some of the stuff that was allegedly happening with him, there's a moral issue, there's a question of infidelity or whatever it is. But one of the things that I did then and I'll do now is I'll applaud Camille Cosby, because she is performing her role in an excellent way. She understands that her job is not to question whether or not he's guilty or any of those things. She's his wife. She has to stand by his side, and she has to speak up when she sees injustices happening, and they did happen, and she's speaking up, and she's been consistent with that right from the beginning.
Well, my good friend, my old friend, John Henry, John and I go way back, 20 something years, right, John? And John's a really smart guy, and he was an excellent athlete in college. He was actually on his way to the NFL. And one thing John just said, which I actually thought was interesting, is he just brought up the fact in the chat that a lot of the women who claimed that Cosby drugged them were known drug abusers. Like Janice Dickinson. I mean, Janice Dickinson's been a drug addict for only God knows how long. So, you're telling me you're a drug addict, but someone drugged you, but you have no proof. So how do we know, we have no way of knowing if you wanted the drugs or if that was a night where you didn't want the drugs, because for her, it almost sounds like it's a toss up, whether or not she's going to want to take drugs that night. Last time I checked, drug addicts get high quite often. And the fact that they, will, you talk about, living off of stereotypes, you got Cosby, being sort of hit with the stereotype of the black male as the criminal, as the buck, as the sex fiend, as the, who can't keep his hands off a white woman, the savage. Well, she's getting protection from the false image of the white female as always this sort of honest, angelic figure in like Mary Poppins, kind of thing. When we know Janice Dickinson is the exact opposite of that. Janice Dickinson, you look at her face. I'm gonna pull up a picture of her. This lady looks like a freaking monster. I'm stunned. I'm telling you, when I see her and I see this other lady, the lady with the Adam's apple that looks like a man, it made me really like, I'm thinking about Cosby's taste in women. I'm like, my gosh, like Camille, beautiful woman, very gracious. She looks like a queen. These other women, I mean, they look like something the queen stepped on her way to the throne, like some little rodents that they found on the side of the road. I don't know if it's right for me to say that, but come on, tell me y'all ain't noticed the same thing I noticed. That lady that accused Cosby looks like a man. I'm gonna pull her picture up, and y'all tell me if y'all don't see a dude in that picture. She could do one of those. Have you seen where they have the app where you can actually change somebody's gender? I'm never going to do this, by the way, so you will never see what I would look like as a woman. But they can change your gender and show you what you'd look like as a woman if you're a man, or show you what a woman would look like if she were, what I mean, right? Like if she were male, right?
The opposite gender.
I bet you that if this woman were to use that app, it would be the same damn picture. They could switch her gender and she would still look exactly the same, because the distance between where she is and manhood is about this much. But go ahead, please continue, Noma. You talk now before I say anything else that makes me go mad.
Before you get yourself into trouble, okay.
Oh, ain't nobody gonna get me in trouble because I don't got no boss. But go ahead.
No, I was gonna say maybe that is what he prefers. We don't know, right? Okay. I've seen a number of celebrities where they were caught in what do you call the little space in between buildings at night?
Oh, you mean like alleys?
Yeah, caught in alleys with men, and they were men, and then they were like, "Oh no, she looked like a woman. I thought it was a woman." Okay, I think.
look at this picture of Janice Dickinson. Let me just show you. Look at this lady. Look at that. Look at that. Like, what is that? I mean, what is that? And I'm telling you, it really kind of makes me look at Cosby sideways, not just because.
Well, to be fair, that's her now, and she's accusing him from years ago. And the same thing with the other dudish-looking woman. She was accusing him from years ago. And as much as some women get angry when you say it, age sometimes just doesn't, work very well for the pale faces.
Well, you know what? I can show you some pictures of some older Black women.
That's what I just said. I said some pale faces. It doesn't work very well.
I can show you some 60, 70-year-old Black women who are gorgeous, right? So that.
Yes, but they're not pale faces.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. Well, so anyway, we got I sidetracked us, but I just thought I just had to keep it real. You know, like I'm looking at some of these women. I'm just thinking, my God, what the hell? What's happening here? And I think that it's almost like you can speak to the injustice with Cosby, but that doesn't let him completely off the hook in my mind. I mean, I think that it's sort of one of those things where you get these guys, they go to Hollywood and they start thinking they're white. They forget that they're black. OJ did it, and then look what happened to him. Cosby, a lot of Tiger Woods, and it's kind of like, when you're getting along, I guess, with the white female, you're safe. Everything's fine and wonderful. But when there's a conflict, you're going to lose. You're a black man, you're going to lose. Tiger Woods had a conflict with his wife. He lost. She tried to murder him with a golf club, and he was the one that was apologizing. Like I mean, that's how crazy the world gets when the black man is in some sort of situation with the white female, is that the power imbalance is so great that it becomes almost like a gender reversed case of like almost toxic femininity or toxic masculinity, except the feminine side of that, right? Where, you're literally going to get your ass kicked as a black man going up against a white female in the court of law or anything, because her words become gold and her tears are worth $1 million. So she goes into court, and it's happening right now. There are cases like this. Quintez Cephas out at University of Wisconsin. Go look up Quintez Cephas, guys. And also the other brother, y'all know I'm talking about, the one in Kansas, Albert Wilson. There are a few other cases. There's a case of the white woman who falsely accused the 2 football players of rape, and they found out that she lied. And I think they gave her maybe a year in prison or something, whereas these guys were going to get 20 or 30 years. So
she even got a year.
Sorry?
I'm surprised she even got a year. They usually
right. And the fact that we have to consider that to be progress is just another reflection of just how problematic the imbalance is. So let me ask you this, Nomalanga. What do you say to those people, who look at Camille, and Camille standing up for her husband, and and he's accused of all these things, and the family's gone through so much, lost a lot of money, experienced a lot of shame. What do you say to those people who look at Camille and say, my God, you're just stupid. Like, why are you doing this?
I said it a little bit earlier, and I also said it, I think it may have been a couple of years ago when he was first accused and they were still building the case and he hadn't gone to trial yet. And there was so many women attacking Camille. And what was sad to see was it was Black women attacking Camille. And they were saying that she's complicit because she's standing by her husband. What is wrong with her? She's stupid and all this other stuff. And I think the problem is, and I remember posting a lot about family and talking about family loyalty and talking about roles. And I think people don't understand that. When you come into a court of law, you have the plaintiff and you have the defendant. Each one comes with a lawyer, right? You never ever, if you're the defendant, expect your lawyer to start building a case for the plaintiff. It just doesn't work that way. People can simply understand that lawyer is there for his defendant, and that's his role in that trial. And he doesn't even have to fully agree with what the person did that he's representing. He just has to do his job and represent his client, right? And the same, I'm trying to get the thought pattern there for when you have a husband and a wife. Even the law is clear. Even if your wife saw you commit a crime, they can't compel her to testify against you because they understand that family value. They understand that connection between a husband and a wife, that it goes against what is natural. You're supposed to stand by your husband. I'm not saying that you should watch him kill people and then say he didn't do it and so on. But I'm just saying that if somebody's going to crucify him and throw him in jail, it shouldn't be you. Your role in that particular scenario is, yes, to stand by him, because that's what you vowed to do. That's what families do. That's what you do. You protect each other, you support each other, you encourage each other. Maybe behind closed doors, she was yelling at him and throwing things at him and threatening to leave him or whatever. But I admire her because when they come outside, she understands her role and she plays it.
Wow. Well, that's called loyalty, and it's called commitment. And
And family.
right, and family, yeah. And I like the fact that you gave that perspective on what family loyalty and commitment mean, because I don't think that a lot of people that I know really understand that. Like, even growing up, because what happens is you grow up with these values that say, oh, you're always supposed to do what's right, even if that means you're disloyal to the person that's next to you, but they shouldn't have done something wrong, right? That's kind of what we do, right? We say, oh, well, but they did something wrong, so that's why I wasn't loyal. And the problem with that, the problem with that logic is that if you take it to the extreme, everybody at some point probably does something that could be defined by somebody as being unethical, right?
Right.
Depending on how you look at it, right? So if I'm looking, like if you and I are have agreed to be committed, as friends or whatever it is, and I want to find an excuse to not be loyal to you, I can pick something and find. I can
Right.
find, and I've seen that. I've seen people who say, normally I would be loyal, but then they did this or then they did that, right? And really, it's like you were looking for a loophole to escape, the
Principle, to escape the principle.
there you go, to escape the principle, right? Or to escape the challenge, the gravity, the cost of remaining committed, because it's tough to stay loyal when times get tough. It's easy to be loyal when everything's good, but where your loyalty is tested is when you're really in the trenches together and everybody's got hell to pay. And so to me, it almost speaks to, when I give people my advice on who they want to choose as either friends, business partners, spouses, or whatever, I said, you need to look for somebody who's going to be loyal to you when the shit hits the fan. Like who's really gonna, who's really gonna go down bloody and burning with you and feel like that was still the right thing to do because they made a commitment to something, right? And that's not common. A lot of people don't have that, and I think that it's when you see that in somebody, you got to reciprocate as well. You have to make sure that you understand what loyalty and commitment means, and it doesn't mean that you just give up your loyalty because things are uncomfortable. So by the way, everybody, I'm speaking with Noma Langabashali Moses from healthyblackwoman.com, as well as FlyNubianQueenTV.com. She also runs a charity in Botswana called Pads for Our Girls. The URL, they supply sanitary napkins to young girls so they can go to school. Please support the charity. I'm a supporter. You can go to padsforourgirls.com. That's padsforourgirls.com. We're going to have to go because Noma's schedule's tight and I got a meeting coming up. But before you go, please hit the thumbs up button. Everybody take 1 second real quick. Please hit the thumbs up button. Also, if you want a free e-copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, go to drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net. Last but not least, if you live in Philadelphia, I'll be there May 19th. So you can go to drboycephiladelphia.com. That's drboycephiladelphia.com to learn more. So thank you guys for hanging out. Good to see you, John. Let's talk, bro. I know you. I just remembered you called me, and I forgot to call back, but I definitely want to catch up with you. John is my buddy. I gotta just shout out.
You gotta call John back.
Yeah, I just respect the guy, and I just love him, and I just think he's an excellent human being, and he was raised by a good family, and he's just a good guy. So I'm out of here. So everybody have a good day, and thank you, Noma. And I'll stay on the line. You and I stay on the line, and I will see you guys soon. Take care.